Hey, I'm Kev Kim, so welcome back to Automobilista 2 and to the ingenious McLaren MP4 12, which was added to Automobilista 2 in the last update from the weekend, and it added this car and some new variations for Silverstone, such as the National and Short Circuit from 2001 and the circuit we've already tried from 1975 but without the chicane. So you can really gun it round there. And I might try and show off the 1970s or mid-70s cars now around that circuit later. But we're going to concentrate on showing off this beast, the MP4 12. Well, I'll say it was a beast. It didn't actually win the 1997 F1 World Championship, but it introduced something ingenious, which was the brake steer system, which came to designer Steve Nichols in 96 in his bathtub, as all great designs come to you, and it just came to him that they set up their cars with understeer because of the way the tyres were back then. As you can see, you had kind of beefy front tyres, but the rear tyres not as suited to the McLaren maybe, and particularly with David Coulthard in mind, who struggled with like the oversteer. He wanted the car that's more set up with understeer, so they come up with this system where on the rear tyres, depending on which circuit they are, if you went clockwise or anti-clockwise, they could use basically a third brake, or a second brake should I say, to kind of lock up a rear tyre, particularly out of the acceleration of the corners. And so they were accelerating and braking at the same time out of the corners. And they introduced this system, they tested it in winter testing around Silverstone in 96, but introduced it in a race in Canada in 97. And it wasn't until Austria in 97 that year, a few races from the end of the season, that Dan Heath, a photographer for F1 Racing Magazine, noticed something, that the rear brake discs were lighting up when the McLarens were accelerating out of corners. And so there was this famous photo in the next race that happened at the Nürburgring, which was strangely called the Luxembourg Grand Prix that year in 97, where both McLarens retired after running strongly, which happened often unfortunately in 97, mainly due to the engine reliability, where Hakkinen could have won a few races before he finally did. It seems to Fanardi and Coulthard could have won a couple more as well, but in that race Coulthard retired. He kept his steering wheel on, so unfortunately Dan Heath couldn't get his camera in there. But there's the famous photo of when he got into Hakkinen's cockpit, he took his wheel off and there was this third pedal, and of course F1 teams not liking that McLaren came up with the system and it was giving them up to half a second apparently. Of course they were going on about the legality of it, and even though they had Reed Saunders and Charlie White in, that the system was legal. In the end, at the beginning of the 98 season, for before the second race in Brazil, it was banned because they said it was part of a four-wheel braking system, which is illegal, or four-wheel steering system, because four-wheel drive is banned in F1. Even though it's basically a three-wheel drive, and it wasn't technically because they were braking on one wheel. It was so much of grey area, they just banned it. But even in that Brazil 98 race, McLaren won by a minute ahead of Schumacher's Ferrari. So, and they still won the title at the end of the years with Hakkinen and in the team's championship. So it's still a damn good car without the brake system. But I was reading up on the McLaren website. I'll link it down below. But they basically came out of it with equipment that cost like 50 quid. Totally crazy, with just spare parts they found around their factory. But that's why we're trying this car out, and Reiza have been very kind in that we don't have to set up for each, clockwise, anti-clockwise circuit. It's just basically a second brake where we can just press it coming out the corners. So this McLaren, we are going to be trying it out if we scroll back. As you can see, it's part of the Gen 1 system, so this is definitely based on a 97 car now. It's because the cockpits were a bit wider as well. I always think of the narrow cockpits of, say, the Benetton or Williams from 97, but the McLaren cockpit was a bit wider. Because, of course, they had very narrow cockpits in, say, 95, but a certain Brit argued about that quite a lot. So, yeah, the cockpits were a bit wider in 96 and 97, along with safety advancements as well. And so we're going to be trying it out. Well, we've tried out the mod in Silverstone. Here, as you can see, we've got Silverstone International now. We've got Silverstone National layouts, not just for the modern circuit, but for 2001 as well. And here we go. We've got the no chicane out for Silverstone 75. But we haven't tried out Silverstone 2000 on the circuit I grew up with. 16 turns, 3.19 miles long. And the difference between this circuit and the 91 layout, which also has maggots and beggars, as you can see, is this layout here. You can see Abbey was still a king. Luffield and the Brooklyn section, as you can see, was very much right angled turns. It didn't kind of flow like it did in this 2001 layout. As you can see, much more flowing, and bridge as well. As you can see, just more flowing at lower speeds, and it's still, you know, what we have nowadays. You know, what this Abbey section, of course, we go down here now. Basically, we go right and then go down here, down this Weddington Straight into Brooklands, and then Luffield and through Woodcote. So you're going to have our usual setup. As you can see, we've got 10 laps. We've got no different weather. It is medium cloudy though. Of course, Britain. And then we've got 19 opponents, still 95% level. Even though I'm still getting used to the system, so it might still be too quick for me, these cars. And as you can see, got all the penalties as well. So let's see what we can do in 10 laps in this beast. So we are starting in 9th for this 10-lap race. As we get underway. As you may have noticed, we can't use the clutch now at the start because we got it set for this second brake. So try and brake still away into the top 6. Old school points. As you may have noticed, we've got some orange cars as well there. Testing livery from back then. Some glorious orange cars got alongside Hackenens and Coulthards. West McLaren's for the first time. That's all great too, down the hanger straight. As oh hello. There goes our reels. Oh no, we're still going. We're in 8th. So we died for 7th now. As it'll be very important to use the kind of brake steer around that club corner. That's kind of what it's made for, particularly corners like that. As you can go flat through bridge, but using that second brake, it's pretty weird in a Formula 1 car to be doing that around a flat out corner, to be braking. We can use it here through Luffield as well. That's the main benefit of this kind of second brake, using those acceleration zones as well. So there is our point in front. That's once again using the default setup, so yeah, I know we're a bit bouncy. Like the first thing I do if I change the setup would be to get rid to raise the rear ride height a bit. But I like the challenge a bit as well, not driving the most optimal car. Also not the bottom left. That is not our potential. So we'll brake. There you go, using it a bit there really does help. But you don't want to press it hard, you want to use it in conjunction with the accelerator. So you're actually kind of dabbing it. At least I am. And that's what they are told to do in real life as well, Hacken and Coulthard. Don't just smash it down, like. Let's go on to the third lap. So we definitely got the pace round it. Pretty cool. The best time I've done in time trials like a mid 126, which is so awfully off the pace. Like the top times are a low 120, so okay, maybe shouldn't have used the brake steer there. Go through Stowe. It'll be very important to use it through there as well. Head into Vale and Club. So once again, everyone's slow through here. Once again, there, it just really helps limit the wheel spin as well. So you can be a bit more aggressive with the throttle. And the crazy thing, I didn't properly explain it, is that no team figured out the system. Even when they were protesting it, like, Ferrari had no idea, Williams, Prost, like, Prost actually thought, oh, it's going to cost millions to develop a system like this when it cost 50 quid. And Williams had developed a system where they used, like, the electronics to do it, to have a similar kind of system, but yeah, for like, that's a bit dangerous, isn't it? So that never happened. Well, yeah, after races it did do, it won 3 races. You know, Australia 98, season July of 97, and one at Monza as well in Coulthard's hands. And it's interesting seeing it being integrated for Coulthard, because he was normally a right foot braker until 99, when he properly started left foot braking. And this is in the period where, you know, we had the crossover from having to clutch and, you know, do it the traditional way, changing gears, to just paddle shifts. And so Hakkinen had already, you know, moved over to left foot braking. Coulthard still had a pedal clutch, not just a hand clutch as well. And so he had 4 pedals in his car at first. Actually, he must have 4 pedals for the duration. Because he tried out left foot braking in this period, but still didn't quite get along with it. That just shows one of the differences between him and Hakkinen. Like, Hakkinen just adapted. Like, he always wanted to try out new things. But Coulthard still not adapting as quickly. Again, maybe that's one of the reasons why Hakkinen's a 2-time champion and Coulthard could only finish 2nd in the championship, right? But just one of the things which separates the very good from the great. And on his day, Coulthard could be great. Like, being a Brit, I didn't mind Coulthard when I was growing up, but I understood his limitations. It's a bit like Foy and Eddie Irvine as well. Like, they were, on their day they could be great, but most of the time they were just, you know, very good. But alongside them they had greatness in Hakkinen and Schumacher. So it's nice seeing Coulthard actually step up slightly after Hakkinen kind of went off the ball in 2001, knowing he was probably going to have a sabbatical after. And then Raikkonen came along in 2002, and, you know, particularly in 2003, that was Coulthard's little window of changing for a title gone. I know by then, of course, Ferrari developed a beast in the 2001 and 2002 F1 cars. It's a bit Not exactly the same, because Verstappen, I believe, is a bit better at driving course, but a bit like watching Verstappen against the Mercedes the last couple of seasons. Like, he's trying his hardest, but the Mercedes cars are just so much better. Like, and that's why it's like watching cool for the McLaren against obviously superior Ferraris. So we're not going to get our point, are we? We've got 4 laps to go. But we got faster. It's watching us. Need to get into the 27s, like. Still car in front a bit slow. Could go down the hanger straight here, get our point. What a great toe. Just trying to hold it round the outside. As they go into Vale. Oh, and through Club, they still hold on. God, I do miss that Club corner. Like, now it's just a little kink. God, that Club corner, like, it's a great challenge. It really did separate the drivers. Oh, what the fuck? Why's the car understeering like that? Okay, I wanted to set the car with understeer, not that much though. There goes our point. As you can see, I'm still getting the grips with this circuit as well. It's so different, this layout. It feels to the modern layout. Even with Cops, with Luffield, with all of these corners, Maggots and Beckett's. Oh, so much overspeed, as Caulfield would say. As you can see, the front tyres are kind of heavily worn compared to the rears. I would expect it the other way with this system. Need to use it a bit more there for Abbey as well, this system. Well, I was definitely a fan of Hakkinen growing up. Like, if I was a fan of Villeneuve and Schumacher for a bit. I was mainly Ferrari fan, but I did like Schumacher. And then I was an Irvine fan, Bericolo fan. You name it, I was probably a fan of half the field. I didn't mind Palace, I didn't mind Frentzen, Hill, like Welsh, Schumacher, Fisichella, Wirtz, Berger, Alesi. Alesi is probably my favourite, just because of his driving style. Like this on top of the wheel, had his old school grip, had almost an old school driving style. The way he just tore vehicles round circuits. Like, he was very good in the wet because of that style, but you know, he was people say it was like watching Gilles Villeneuve drive at AC. But then I like to think Villeneuve had a bit more sense sometimes in the car compared to LA, so I love you, John, but sometimes you just, because he drove with like passion, it was just, sometimes he just lost it a bit. Like I remember, was it Australia 97 when he just ran out of fuel for no reason? He just ignored the team. And they gave him several calls to pit and he just refused. So we're on the final lap now. But yeah, I miss seeing a driver like that. So you can't really do it with the modern F1 cars. You have to... You kind of reduce seeing the differences from the eye test. At least from with my eyes. The difference between the drivers. It's only when you get the onboard shots you can really tell the difference between the modern day drivers. There's low orange McLaren. That's a nice rear diffuser you got there. There's maybe too much load on the rear tyres through Abbey there for me to admit later with the brakes there. So a bit wide through Priory. Always an issue there through Priory. So go through Luffield. And this we're going to get not quite the proper old school points, but the 2003 to 2009 points. We'll get 8th. We're up a place from where we finished, where we started. We'll take it. But yeah, that is the McLaren MP4 12. It's very tricky to get used to driving with, you know, a second brake. Like I didn't use it the best during this race, but the few times we did, I feel like we nailed it with it. It does give you some speed, so. And that's what the guys at the top of the leaderboards have been able to, you know, figure out as. I'll definitely be back with this car once I get better with it. And they're definitely back with more Silverstone. We still got the 91 layout to show off, and as I said, I want to show off that 75 layout with no chicane at the end. With some old school F1 cars, because that would be fun, or just some old school cars in general. So we go, now we've got our 6th place. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed some more Automobilista too. Like, there's so much in this game to show off, and it, as I say, it keeps improving all the time. Like, and it's got a great roadmap as well. Like next month, I believe we're meant to be getting some Touring Car Legends DLC, and then they got some more circuits, some more classic cars till next year coming in this. So lots of content to look forward to. Not Automobilista 2 and from Reiza Studios, but as we do our own separate cooldown that. So for watching, and I will see you next time. Okay. We can use it for maggots and Beckett's. What have we been doing this whole time?